We are back here inside LAFC. Vince LaRosa, Max Brados of LAC.com, YouTube TV. I don't have to really say that every time.
It's good for the audio people, I suppose.
So you get the idea. We're comprehensive covering this team in many ways. And now there's like some streams crossing, hence the podcast.
Yes. Bringing everything together, synergy.
That's a great hat.
I love that word. Yeah. We didn't even coordinate this.
No. One of us could take, we're both wearing LAFC hats for those listening to just the audio portion. I could take my hat off, but my hair looks, it's not good.
And I have what is left of my hair.
You have a cool look with your head.
I try.
It looks great.
Yeah, well, I have a great barber.
Will Ferrell in the We Are LAFC talks about Bob Bradley's head as, but you have a very symmetrical, lovely head.
I know, and I'm going to say this, when I was starting to lose my hair, and I don't know how we're going down this.
Look, hey, I'm losing my hair too.
Yeah.
It's just taking a little longer, but it's going to be, I have a decision to make in the next year or two.
It's nothing to
and
be.
I do not have a symmetrical head. Oh. Because I've shaved my head in the past, and I can tell you that, breaking news.
I had never shaved my head, always had like long hair, liked to have long hair, and then it started to go. I was very sad. It was like almost like a funeral for my head. But then when I shaved my head, I realized, at the very least, if I'm going to lose my hair, at least I have a nice round head.
See, I'm telling you. There's a lot of articles coming out that bald men have a lot of advantages. And because they came up with they had Jason Statham and The Rock headlining moving. And when did that ever happen? Two guys who have no hair. I go, telling you.
I mean, I guess, but I'm not going to compare myself with Jason Statham or The Rock.
You could be Jason Statham, I'll be The Rock of this podcast. Or in reverse, it doesn't matter. They're both cool.
Tell them what's on the show.
How often do you shave your? How much do you shave your head?
I go to the barber like every 3 weeks.
But at home, you do something to make.
No, I used to. Now that I have to sometimes be on camera with you, I'm like, I should get some real hair, like some real haircuts.
He's got his Juventus shirt on. We'll talk about why that's got a stream inside the pod.
I'm glowing today. Not just the yellow, like I'm glowing.
I have my Kraftwerk. Listen to a Kraftwerk song today. German electronic band from the late 70s. They are remarkable.
You don't have to tell me. You don't have to tell me.
I'm going to tell you. Dr. Dre, in his documentary was on, I think, HBO, speaks so highly of Kraftwerk as a huge influence. One piece of homework I want to take care of is our security, Paul. I referenced him as Security Paul, and he's getting a lot of grief from the people listening to the podcast, so I just want to make a correction. It's Team Security Paul, and I want to use him as a news source, and he said to me that Dio gets to park in front here at the Performance Center because of his game last week, and he was man of the match for the 32-52. So he gets the best parking spot.
Oh, there's a special parking spot.
Apparently.
I hope
I didn't let the cat out of the bag on that one, but he did tell me that.
I didn't know that, and I'm here every day. Pretty much every day. Oh.
Got to get the intel. Well, we got to have some moles.
Paul is the man, and if you do have the pleasure to ever join us for training, my favorite part about Paul is he will not let Max in the building without giving him the full business for at least 10 to 15 minutes.
I have to bring my credential every time. He will not let me in without my credential.
Yeah.
Most people can walk around here without their credential. All right.
It's true.
So as for the show, we have a lot of ground to cover.
Yes.
So we have, looking back at the Portland victory, real quick thought after the game, what came to mind when you saw that the completion of this 4-1 comprehensive win?
To me, it was another example of a little bit of adversity in game, and then just completely flip the script. And man, it was nice to be 4-1 up and just be relaxed. I was down on the field, people were high-fiving. It felt good to see them go. I mean, obviously, last-minute goals, love them. Love it, especially when they go in your favor. But from my job, from what I do for the club, it's kind of nice to be downstairs and high-fiving and knowing that the game is wrapped and we're done and dusted.
Aesthetic-wise, which game was better on your eye for the football/soccer, the Sporting Kansas City or the Timbers game?
Yeah, I think Sporting was still.
Yeah, just because the way they played.
Well, both teams played really well. There was like some sputtering stop-starts between the two. This game had like some choppy up moments. You could really kind of dissect it through the moments until LAFC was free and clear, and then it was just like champagne football almost. And
when we congregate there to listen to the post-game sound, safe to say Bob was happier after the Sporting win. Yeah, Bob likes great games. He felt good, but it was his birthday too, but there was like a contentness. Well, and he competes. Yeah. Like he wants to compete. He liked that. I think he realized after the Portland game, I mean, obviously there's a red card that comes in too, but after they were ahead, Portland kind of eased off the gas, then there's the red card. So to him, he's like, well, I'm not going to pump up this victory. I mean, it is what it is, and we'll take the points, but that Sporting game is still probably much more to draw off. I think there was a question even about how they allowed the Portland goal, or maybe they asked it to Christian Ramirez, how that Portland. I was like, we just won 4-1. Yeah. But I get it, and then that's to clean up the process to make it maybe one day that perfect game.
Yeah.
Perfect game, like that's the one. And we'll know when it happens.
I mean, I think we would ask Bob that he's still in his career searching for that perfect game. So I don't know if it happens ever, but it's a quest.
But I mean, to be somewhat feeling that you're not near there yet, and to beat what I would classify as the second biggest rivalry, 4-1. Yes, you had the man advantage there for a bit. To say that that's still so much work to do, that has got to make you really excited if you're an LAFC fan, because now MLS has them number 1 on their power rankings, rightfully so. They've been, when you look at the opponents, the two teams that disputed the Western Conference trophy last season, both at home, and we can take that, and clearly LAFC's home advantage is a real thing, just a one loss. But when you take all that, you still feel it. I mean, there's still a couple guys coming back to health here. This is pretty exciting stuff. I mean, it's 2 weeks in, pump the brakes, but it's pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks in. I think the two things I was looking at going into this match is, one, these were games last season that even though we do have a strong home field advantage, obviously the atmosphere is unquestioned. These were games against, when top teams would come in, they would maybe drop points, whether it was a draw. Definitely not losses. We only had the one loss, right? So now they're winning those games. So that's a step up in quality. And the second thing coming into this game was, we talked about that Sporting game was so big. It's two just behemoths going at each other. But in a lot of ways, you look at a team and go, that's great. You can do it one time, but the second week is going to be that much more important. And 4-1, I mean, you couldn't do it much better. So I think we learned a lot from the team, because had they fallen flat, there would be just as many questions going the opposite direction. So they had to still show us something.
Yes, and again, 2 games, but 6 points, and you already, you have a little wiggle room as to how the schedule plays out to make sure you want to be where you are at the end of the season. But again, a long way to go. So let's talk about the game itself and some of the guys that stood out. And Carlos Vela was Player of the Week.
Yes.
I don't think any argument there for what he was able to do. And it came up a little bit afterwards, because the moment where Bob talked to Vela and says, I think you can reach that kind of messy level in We Are LAFC. Second time I've referenced that. If you haven't seen it, it's on ESPN Plus. Binge watch it today. People are going, there's moments there where he kind of looks like Messi, the role that he plays, and so significant. And all of a sudden, that kind of, I think, hemmed that up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they're 2 left-footed players, so we'll already start there.
That's fine.
They're high technical quality, and they're both players that I feel like, and Messi does this.
And we're not comparing. We're not saying
we're not comparing
player, but you see stuff and you can see what Bob was talking about.
They're 2 players that and I'm not saying that Carlos isn't there every game and shows up every game, but when he really, really puts his mind to it and says, all right, I've had enough of this, I'm going to take this over, there's not many players like him in MLS that can really turn a game on its head like he can against Portland. Deserved Player of the Week, has the stats to back it up. But my other guy, my low-key, I think I want to make this a thing, I don't know, my low-key hipster man of the match, Eduardo Atuesta. How'd you feel about him?
Who made the MLS starting 11.
Should have been in the MLS starting 11 the week before. I believe that maybe those people on the East Coast might have turned off their TVs.
It's a college football crowd.
East Coast.
Man, it's too late. I can't watch that USC Arizona State game.
You were out there. You were out there with ESPN for a long time. East Coast bias is real, right?
Yes, I was the late shift out there, so I would stay up to see the games.
But you were the only one.
But I would be up for work.
Yeah.
Drinking coffee, and coming home. My wife says, "Why don't you go to bed at 3 in the morning?" Because I just had 3 coffees.
Yeah.
Because I've been up. But he was remarkable and so influential. And this is a different Eduardo Atuesta we saw last season. He does everything with conviction. He knows his role. He does everything at 100. These are just all very cliche, but it's just that's what it is.
Well, because
it looks like he belongs.
Well, because the reason why it seems cliche, and they are kind of like intangibles. Because last season, no one would say, I don't know if he's a skilled player. He's definitely a very skilled player. They had all the hard stats and the skill to do it, but now it just seems like there's that level of confidence. I mean, that outside of the boot ball to Vela that leads to the second goal. I mean, you don't do that unless you're super confident, especially from the position in the field he was. I mean, I could watch that on repeat.
He didn't play 90 minutes, but why did Marc Anthony Kaye not make it? And I would say, when you mentioned he scored the goal, he got a goal.
Yeah.
There was a ball he played to Vela off the outside of the boot from the near sideline, and it curled around into Carlos in between 2 defenders. I was like, wow, that's pretty legit.
Yeah, these guys are doing things
he should have been. Do you think he should have been there too?
At least a substitute.
The way they played, you get 3 guys.
Yeah.
I get Walker Zimmer in there too.
Walker, yeah.
We're going to redo the
Yeah,
MLS 11, it's going to have 8 LAFC players.
MLS, if you want us to do it, I mean, it's going to be LAFC heavy, but...
We watched the East Coast games.
Yeah, I did.
I can't watch them all, but I watched.
I try to watch as many as I can before the lady in the house tells me, are you working?
I watched Fire Orlando. I remember most of it. I watched
Fire Orlando.
Minnesota Vancouver because I want to see Minnesota. Was like
challenge for that header. Like maybe just
that was bad.
Pretend to jump, right?
I was about to tweet, hey Orlando, congratulations, you're back. Not so quick.
No, they are back. That's how they played last season.
They're back to last. Well, we could see, but the performances. Edouard was great. Everyone there was. I know the Dio goal got some play on the MLS social media, just with the passes leading up to it, and I saw it again. You're like, because we're looking at 100 different things, and when you see that again, it's a beautiful thing. And I know you wanted to touch on also about how this team got out and stayed out in front, and there was no issues about relinquishing that lead whatsoever.
Yeah, so they score the goal, and then a little shoddy on that set piece that gets it to go. Valeri puts in a fantastic ball. I mean, even if you defend that set piece as well as you can, that ball from Diego Valeri, I mean, there's going to be trouble on it, right? And then I felt like Portland kind of ramped it up, but once again, this is why it's the story of the match to me. LAFC once again said, okay, well, we'll ramp it up with you. They get that second goal right before half, perfect tonic. And then, Bob pointed to this, that the real kind of maybe turnaround is not even a goal. It's Walker blocking Jeremy Abobisi in the 56th minute. I mean, that was Portland at their best.
He was pumped too after.
Yeah,
and I got pumped. You got pumped.
The funny thing was, it was so much of the things that we had seen last season, but now just finer tune. So LFC's going, they're trying to thread a pass to Carlos. They're looking for that third goal, which they're always going to do, because at the end of the day, the best way to win games is to score more goals and to change games that way, which they did perfectly today. But Portland does snuff it out, gets a transition moment back. You got Diego Valeri on the ball with guys just trying to get back as fast as they can, and Walker battles through that, stops that play, whereas last year maybe that ends up a goal, and maybe
100% that ends up. That was those moments, because I'm sure you were in the same way. We're all looking at from the press area, and our hearts are entering our throat. This is where it kind of goes off the rails of last season, and it didn't.
Yeah.
And the Zimmerman freedom with Eddie Segura is evident now. Though this partnership feels like they've been at it for a long time.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it does.
It feels like it's a long-standing center back partnership.
I'm going to tease something we're going to be working on that's going to be on LFC.com. We're doing Anatomy of. This is synergy, more of this synergy.
We need more synergy here.
We're doing an anatomy of. We are going to break down this play. So in probably by tomorrow or Thursday, because we're recording on Wednesday, there will be a breakdown with the players of that play. So we'll talk more about it. But I think one of the pivotal aspects of that too is Eddie happens to slip trying to go for a tackle, but he feels like he can go for those challenges because Walker's got his back.
Right. By the way, synergy also, you know about the Iron Maiden concert at Bank of California Stadium, just announced Mumford & Sons, so check Ticketmaster. Get out there, and if you want to, it's going to be a fun 2019. And there's a segue for you, Vince. This is how you do it. Talking about the concerts, and I want to talk about a song that we would use for, look at you, okay, all.
I'm excited about it. No, because, so for those that want to know more about my life, I live in Long Beach. I take the,
Long Beach is cool, man.
Long Beach is cool. It's a cool place to be. It's a little bit of LA and a little bit of a small town all in one.
Little Orange County.
I usually take the Blue Line, but the Blue Line's down for like 9 months, which is horrible. So now they have buses. So I'm riding on the bus and I'm just kind of preparing. I'm listening to music, and finally a song played that it didn't even cross my mind. So I'm excited about my song.
All right. We're talking about that now, right?
Why not?
All right, you tell me. A lot of songs came up to my mind, but I'm a lot older than Vince and all of you.
Oh, my song's old.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm an old soul.
I had a really old one I had to jettison really quick. I can't believe it's getting better all the time.
Okay.
Because it felt like that's the Beatles. And
yeah.
I don't listen to the Beatles anymore. I just can't. It's just I listen to them so much.
Yeah, I mean, but
so there's bands I will not listen to anymore. Yeah, Lynyrd Skynyrd's another one.
They're still the Beatles.
I can't listen to it.
Okay.
I'm trying to replenish. Listen to Kraftwerk.
But you can listen to German electronica. Okay. So that was your backup.
No, that was my backup.
Give me your real one.
The other one I thought about, Drake started from the bottom. Now we're here.
Okay.
Kind of came from a rudimentary level, and now we're here. I'm like, this felt. And I look at the highlights, and everything felt so big time, and I felt big time because of our affiliation with LAFC.
Fair.
So we're good. Now we got to stay here.
Yeah. I think
I don't know what that was.
I like both your choices.
Really?
I think that we're...
Vince would not sugarcoat anything.
That's true, especially when it comes to music.
Yeah, like I walked in with this outfit and he goes, hey, trying to cater to the younger crowd. I was like, oh, jeez, he nailed it. But
well, little known fact about me, and yes, I am younger than you, but I do like some of the older music, and I like a bit of reggae from time to time. So my song, Jimmy Cliff, The Harder They Come.
The harder they come, the harder they fall. One
Sporting,
and all. Great actor too.
To Portland, yeah. Oh, the movie's called The Harder They Come as well.
Yes, good. He was also in Club Paradise with Robin Williams and Eugene Levy.
That sounds fantastic. I like.
Have you seen that movie?
No,
it's
I haven't.
Hilarious. Club Paradise.
All right, I'll find it. But I think
Peter O'Toole as well.
We've already talked about it. The defending regular season Western Conference champs come in down. MLS Cup finalists in
Timber.
I just
leave it.
We're just leaving that. No, I wasn't going to say that, but it just nailed it so perfectly.
Oh, brilliant.
I love the puns, Max.
This is what we're going to bring here. We're here to entertain and give you some good. That's our MO statement. And to entertain, and to give you the details you need about the club.
Yeah, if you come, I mean, hopefully you come for some of the tactics and some of the meat, but Max and I like to have fun too, and I think people like it better when we have fun.
Cool.
And talk about music. But I will say this. We want to try to do this, a song for the match, a song for a player. So maybe I'll try to throw it out there. And Max, you as well on Twitter, we'll try to throw it out there. Maybe we'll use hashtag LFC PodFam to send it out there. But we'll try to throw it out there after matches. And put in the comments, anything. Let's get some songs going. Let's get some chatter going.
And what we should do is, because we can't really do it here because of licensing and so forth, but we'll attach the actual song, Harder They Come, Harder They Fall, so people can acclimate it. Because maybe the younger crowd, and we know you're listening and watching, may not be familiar.
Yeah.
And if you hear that song, you'll get pumped.
Yeah, if you're listening on Spotify right now, you can put pause for a second. We're going to go to a break in a second anyways. Put pause for a second. Bring up Jimmy Cliff. You will not regret it.
We got to get out of this segment, but I will say Melvin Seals was a keyboard player. He used to play for Jerry Garcia in the Jerry Garcia Band. He still tours, incredible musician, and he has a cover of that song that he plays with the keyboards. Knock your socks off. So maybe I'll put that one too.
Yeah, and if you're a little punk persuasion, Rancid does a very good.
I love Rancid.
Rancid does a very good The Harder They Come cover with Lars just screaming over it. So
Lars, I miss them. All right, they still dabble around here and there.
They do, but Lars is a big San Jose Earthquakes fan, so he's our rival.
Right, because he did stuff. I remember a few years ago with MLS.
But since we're inviting people on the pod, Lars, if you want to come on the pod, it'll be fine.
Cool. I gotta duck out here.
You gotta get.
Okay, all right.
Be professional. We can be professionals.
As you will recall, in the game against Portland, Steven Beitashour suffered an injury, had to leave. Latif Blessing came in and ran a little right back, and there was a lot to discuss. So we're going to have a little fun when we return, see which LAFC player could play a different position or a different sport. That's next on Inside LAFC. Back here on Inside LAFC, and Latif Blessing coming off the bench in a big spot because of some head injury, head trauma suffered by Steven Beitashour. And it was a very important moment of the match for Steven Beitashour, who's a key player, especially in that game. He was motoring forward a lot. And maybe that's the reason why Latif Blessing really came in. So I don't know how you felt when you saw that. You were like sitting there. Shaft Brewer played some as well, and and Danilo's also a guy you said to me off the air could position there. Shaft was injured, not on the 18, but you looked at the roster. You said I remember looked at it. Beitashour's coming out, and you know better than I would. And I was like going through there. All right, so who? And it made sense. I mean, it was obviously an option, but this is something we've seen before.
Yeah, it's not as out of the blue as it would seem. I will say this, when I did see Latif, though, I was still surprised. And I think I even said in my takeaways, I'm still not totally sold on it. But when Bob says that they switch them around in training, they definitely do. We actually had Latif play, I think, a half of right back against Columbus. And I like to talk with the staff sometimes when I see things, and we'll talk like this. Is this a thing, or is it just something we're playing around with? And I asked about Latif at right back, and I was told it's definitely a thing. Latif is the type of player
Good question, by the way.
Yeah.
No messing around.
Well, it's a thing.
Is this a thing?
Yeah, is this a thing? Let's just get straight to it.
Thing?
Well, usually if I say, is this a thing, then I'll get reasons why it could be a thing. So this is why I've been told it could be a thing. Latif is a great player. He's a talented player. Fantastic coming off the bench. He's the game changer, right?
Yeah, and you want to, any way you can get him minutes, and he's loved by the fans, but any way you can get a spot, and his traditional spot, sometimes there may not be minutes to be had, and then here you are. Here's that opening.
Yeah, you want to maximize talent on the field. Obviously, Steven Bayshore is your first choice right back. He's Mr. Consistent, but you can't mess around with head injuries, so he had to come off. But yeah, Latif, you want to get as much talent on the field, and Latif is in a position where, well, there's Carlos Vela there, there's Diego Rossi. So they're thinking, yeah, you can be a substitute, but if you're Latif and you're talking to Latif, you say, hey man, if there's a way you might be able to get on the field long term and as a starter, it might be at right back, because Latif has the ability to dribble, can get forward, energetic, is willing to get back. I would say that one of Latif's biggest downfalls as a more attacking player is his final ball, right? And so as a right back, he can be in the mix. He can be, as we saw, he plays the ball to Carlos, who then plays the final ball. So that's a fantastic pass. So Latif can pass. It just sometimes he gets maybe a little happy feet when he gets really down into those congested areas. So it's something that can definitely work. I'm not saying by any means was he 100% perfect. He's got to have that mindset where, look, Latif's always going to work back. He's an energetic player, but there's that mindset where the second the ball turns over, you got to click back into gear. But sometimes it is just as easy, and Bob said this about, Bob said this about Latif, and Latif said this. You know, playing fullback is just like playing wing. You just got to remember to get back.
Yeah, those lines have been blurred a lot with wing backs and whatever has come out as offensive weapons. But I mean, that's the thing that would give me pause right away our guy Dweezy brought it up in the press conference afterwards, is like his responsibility. He knows about the going forward, but does he have the defensive wherewithal to give you comfort that he'll be able to do the job there? And to your point, the more you think about it, I go, look, as long as it's all about being attentive and saying, all right, we're running, okay, they have the ball. What do I have to be position-wise? Do I go a little further back? Naturally, if you have someone in front of you, which they do, and that setup, that will sort of push you back. If it was a long-term situation, and I think those mistakes might come into view where the guy may not be in there all the time, but I think just repetitions would probably fix that, right? That shouldn't be that much of a concern.
Yeah, and I mean
because his speed will sort of wipe out a lot of shortcomings, whether you're in the position or not, because he can get there real quick.
And for those watching the podcast, we are in the place where he's going to learn about all those shortcomings in the video room. They're going to show him video after video after video, because there is little things. You can say, hey, it's just like getting forward, but you got to get back. Well, there's little things, you know, if they're attacking down the left side, do I go? Or do I pinch to make a line of three? Do I have to see these moments? What is Blanco doing? You know, Blanco's a formidable opponent, and, you know, aside from the moment that Walker snuffed out, they really didn't threaten much other than that. So Latif, I would say pass with flying colors. I mean, again, there's always things that you can see, and there was a few times where I would look up and think, Latif's maybe a little far forward for me, but again, Edward Atuesta, phenomenal. Would drop into that space, drop into the hole to cover his teammate. So there was, in those moments, it can't always just be the player. Obviously, you want the player to be attentive, but if the team can also rebalance, whether it's Marc Anthony Kaye, whether it's Edward, who both at certain times would drop into those sections, we saw it. We'll get into more. We saw it in the Juventus game. Emery Chan would drop into the right back slot when João Cancelo.
We'll talk Champions League in a little bit.
We'll talk Champions League in a little bit, but those are important things. So you have to you work with what you have on the field. You want to get the most talent on the field. Yeah, I would say that again. It's not as out of the blue as you would think. But yeah, was I still surprised? Yeah. Latif's coming in. Where's he going? We all kind of were like, hey, I think we're going to move some tools around. Nope, goes right to right back. I'm a little surprised, but good for him.
I don't think he moved anyone from the front back. But do you think he can really play goalie? Said it.
I mean, I don't put anything past Latif. The one thing he has,
legend.
The one thing Latif has more than anything is enthusiasm, and I feel like it can take you a long ways because he's supremely talented, and has a high energetic value. He's always smiling. He's just the type of guy you want to be around. So I don't know. If he said he could play goalie.
Props to the 32-52, and forgive me if I give credit to, I heard it from the LAFC Luckies during their tailgate, how they were raising money for Latif's mom's, and they had her restaurant recipe there they were giving away. Yes. So excellent work, guys. They're always thinking about the players. I don't know where that's going on elsewhere. It's such a specific. It's not like, hey, let's put some money in a jar and see if we can get this for or help the charity unknown. This is going directly.
Yes.
It's unbelievable. So way to organize that and get that going. So Latif playing a different position. We were to start talking about who could play a different position on LAFC, and this was very hard for me. I don't want to step on any toes because I know everyone's in a position specifically.
Yes.
We saw Carlos move like from that midfield to a more traditional number 10 last season in necessity in a lot of ways. Wherever the guys play right now, it seems perfect because look, Portland's is a pretty good team, and we made them look pretty ordinary in that game. So this is going to be obviously some tongue in cheek a little bit, right?
Yeah, I think this is factually based, but there is no inside track really here. It's not like we're telling you secrets.
Yeah.
It's just me and Max looking at characteristics of players and saying, I think you could probably do a job there. And I guarantee you, if we actually do get any of these right, the coaches are light years ahead of us, and I've already known this for ages.
I mean, I don't want to steal the team. When I think about, and I'm going to mention Diego Rossi for a couple things, just because we have someone that kind of speed, and Rossi has Latif Blessing speed. If he's in this, needs to come from a deeper role, you know, maybe let it ride. If there is a situation where your right back is getting a little bit thin, then maybe that's the thing that you could do. The other one, I mean, Walker Zimmerman feels like some guy we could move around. I mean, he looks like that traditional center back, and he is. But what I've seen the last 2 weeks, I wonder if there's a higher role for him even. I mean, I don't think that's the he can win balls like as a midfielder can.
Right. Again, this
maybe he can play in goal.
This is what we're doing, and I have a center back.
He's a good header. He could probably come up and be a center forward.
My first thought was moving a center back a little bit too. I think I could see Danilo as more of a number 6 defensive midfielder at some point. He's a pretty slick passer. He's pretty tidy on the ball. Has that ability and balance to take a ball from one foot, switch to the other, and switch it. I could see that. Again, these are not earth shattering.
I try to be a little more earth shattering, but I mean,
well, it's hard. Look, these guys work so hard to get to the positions they're at. So yeah, look, here's another one. Jordan Harvey at center back. This is not ground shattering. I believe he's played some in his career.
Looks like a little Lothar Matthäus back there, kind of.
But he played a little center back in the preseason.
People always
it was fantastic.
6'3" statuesque center backs, but that's not.
No.
You don't see that as frequent. Certainly not in Major League Soccer, at least both center backs, and more in the global game.
Yeah.
You find guys who kind of get that job done.
Jordan's instincts in a purely defensive role are very good. So obviously when he plays left back, he has to juggle everything going forward, defensive. But we saw him play a little bit of center back in one of the preseason games. He was fantastic.
Yeah, I should mention Michael Parkhurst is a good example of a guy who's not as statuesque, not a short man by any means, but a guy who can kind of take control of the central of the defensive park for teams.
Yeah, Jeff Lorenowitz also can drop back into center back. Not to just pick only on Atlanta, but they have a decent team.
Anyone listening in Atlanta, and I know somebody. Yeah. We love you in Atlanta, but we like to help. Bad patch,
Yeah, if you need a hug.
If you need a hug, we're here.
We're here for you.
I mean, we have no quarrel until the very end, possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly. It could happen. Why not?
Why
not?
We'll see you back at Bank of California Stadium.
We have that. Atlanta's coming to Bank of California Stadium. That was one of the games I highlighted in our Black and Gold shows, the ones I wanted to see, and more so even now.
More synergy.
More synergy.
More synergy.
So you get partners, and you have people that you distance yourself from.
Let's go to the more fun.
I'm not finished. Okay, let's go to the fun. I'm just kidding. Let's go where we're going to talk about LAFC players in other sports.
Other sports.
And where they could excel.
These ones I got to have more fun with. Did you have more fun with this?
I had more fun with this.
Okay. Should we trade them back and forth?
Okay. This could be very dangerous because Diego Rossi is what, like 145 pounds?
Soaking wet.
Soaking wet. But when I watch him and I see the lines that he runs, it reminds me of an NFL wide receiver and a slot receiver certainly who can get underneath between the linebackers, go in the middle of the field, which obviously if you're not familiar with the NFL or American football, that's where you're destined to get hit really hard.
Catch it and get down.
Catch it and get down. But I could see him, as long as he's careful, maybe a little extra padding here to make him back $160, I could see him running those little channels and getting that ball, taking it, or just taking off running.
Yeah.
But don't touch him, Rams, Chargers, hands off.
I love that you brought that up because it brings up a good story. It was something we didn't get to use, but last season we talked to Dio about some things he was doing making his runs. And he said that he actually studies wide receivers and how they turn their hips and work on their cuts to get off the line.
Yeah.
We didn't end up using it, but I just sitting there listening to him talk about it was like, oh, yeah. I
think there's a lot of similarities there and just movement between those two sports. I mean, basketball too, and And soccer is just a smaller field of play, but I see them all the time, and I watch a lot of sports. So,
well, speaking of basketball, my first one, I think Walker Zimmerman could be a Charles Barkley power forward type.
Kind of back to the net, kind of.
I mean this in the nicest way possible. He's got a bit of a wide body, can really box out a little bit there, and he can jump. We've seen that. And he's scrappy. Look, last season when Galaxy came to Bank, obviously it didn't go our way. It ended up 2-2, but for 80 of those 90 minutes, Zlatan was literally in the back pocket of Walker. And Zlatan was giving him extras. I mean, if you rewatch that game, watch Walker head the ball and just try to see if you can catch the second or two after, because Zlatan was going at him. Didn't have a problem. Went toe to toe. So I think I'm gonna say this. Some NBA players are a little soft.
Oh.
Yeah, they think.
Yeah, they think a little whiny.
Yeah, a little whiny. They think us soccer players are soft, but I feel like some of them are soft.
Those tables have turned.
So we get Walker. He fit right in with maybe those old Piston teams.
Nice.
Walker and Lambier. Why not?
Adrian Dantley and Zimmerman taking the court. By the way, have we seen? I mean, we know Carlos loves the NBA. Have we seen his jump shot?
I've not.
We've got to see that.
I'd be very curious too.
We've got to do that, right?
Yeah.
Just hit me, because I didn't want to do it because I haven't seen the body work. But I've seen Dio dribble a soccer ball.
Yes.
And it's really impressive.
Yeah.
So maybe as a two guard, because he's got that quick first step. He was dribbling, he goes, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
And I go, come on, Dio, see what you. I didn't do that.
He's got a crossover.
I didn't do it because he's probably a lot better. But has a killer crossover, and you can see the basketball part of with these guys. You can see it's a big part of a lot of their lives, whether they're watching, whether they like to play. They're into it. So I throw that one out there as well.
Yeah.
You got another one?
I do. Tyler Miller. I've seen him take some cuts. Dodgers batting practice. I think maybe he could play a little baseball. We could get his swing tuned up. He's got those long arms, got good leverage, maybe good launch angle. I could see it. Also, on a sneaky tip, he's always rolling the ball out. Maybe he could be a bowler.
Yeah. I was trying to think of someone to be a mixed martial artist. Who's the one guy you wouldn't want to miss? Ooh. Beta strikes me as a guy who would kind of...
Beta's scrappy.
Scrappy. He's so lovey to all of us, but sometimes you see him, he's like, what?
As of
and then you see him on the field, yeah?
Yeah. As of late, Marc's been pretty fired up.
Yeah.
I've seen him throw some daggers towards people.
The sporting game where he disrupted the water bottle exchange. Yeah, that was like he just took his beeline.
When he's seeing red, I wouldn't want to get in front of him.
All right, we're not going to have them fight at all, but I hope you enjoy that.
Wait, I have one last one.
So you have another one? All right.
I have one last one, and this is not even...
I'm trying to think of one for Lee.
Lee is a fantastic video game player already. It's a sport now.
You play it we had the Twitch thing where some of the players would go.
Did?
All right.
And this is almost cheating along the lines of Lee, but something a lot of people don't know. Edward is a championship level ping pong player, to the point that he actually, when he was younger, had to decide between ping pong. I'm taking
notes for some of our other shows.
He had to decide between ping pong and soccer. That's what I've heard. And I've seen him play a little bit of ping pong in the locker room. He looks very good. We have a ping pong table at the main office of LAFC. I'd like to get him out there. We have a few stellar ping pong players. I think, write that down because we're going to have to double check on that.
We got this all new programming. We're going to get the Vela jump shot down. Edward playing ping pong. He's not going to play against me because but I'm find someone who can kind of hold his own. Maybe just plays it against, remember the Forrest Gump?
Yeah, I bet he could.
That I would like to see. Maybe we'll bring that too. So this podcast just now has unearthed some new programming opportunities, which listen, YouTube TV, you don't have it. So much great programming on there. You see a lot of me, which could be good or bad. Mostly good. But if you love LAFC, there is a whole platform of great programming. And when game day comes, first game's against Real Salt Lake, check it out if you haven't already. And you get a great streaming service in YouTube TV.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, it's
unlimited
plus.
DVR. And you also, you can have 5 family members get in on your account so you can share. People will be, if you give them their sign in and says, son, honey, whatever, here's the sign in, enjoy YouTube TV, loan it on your phone. They'll love you.
That was free. That was almost like a read, but we didn't.
I did. That came off the cuff.
Just off the top of the head. Max has got it.
All right, we're going to be back on LAFC hit the road for the first time this season. They're going to the Big Apple. New York City FC. We'll preview that game next, and we'll talk a little Champions League. I know everyone's talking about it. Cristiano Ronaldo, he's done it again. Inside LAFC, Vince LaRosa, Max Bredos, we're back here, and LAFC getting ready to hit the road for the first time. Everything worked out perfectly at home, 6 points out of 2, and you've got your roots in there, which is fantastic. Didn't have to end that way, but it did. Certainly well-deserved. But now the road, which was so kind to LAFC at the beginning of the season as they waited for Bank of California Stadium to be built a season ago. And I think everyone's got to feel pretty comfortable they'll face New York City FC. And there are a lot of challenges there because of the Yankee Stadium. It's going to be a lot different than anything LAFC has seen at home, and that plays to the favor of New York City FC, and they've always been a quality team, and part of the reason they have a good home field advantage. It's a different team. Mitrica, I hope I pronounced that right, the Romanian. Mitrica. Figure that out.
I haven't brushed up on my Romanian.
He looks like a live wire. Looks like a good player. He's involved. He's played the minutes. He's in essence there to fill very big shoes with David Villa. Not apples to apples, but they do have a lot of good young players. They have a good pipeline of players that Manchester City helps put them there. Young Herrera, I like to go. It hasn't gone as well as I think it would have been, but he's an example of a guy that was being able to brought through that kind of wasn't on the landscape for MLS, but there's continues Maxi Morales. I say Morales because it has a Z at the end of his name, but it's Morales. And cagey, good-looking guy to get there. No, not the start, but not a terrible start, but it's going to be tricky. It's a long trip, and I think also what you have to know is like just within it's not like when teams come here, for instance, because I know there's better, and they stay relatively close, and they have their practice facilities. It's all kind of close for LA. And other city teams, it's even more so, I would imagine. I don't know in Atlanta, their practice facility not too far off. It's manageable. This is a little bit, and New York, because it's New York in that area, the tri-state area, there are challenges. But this is, I don't think to throw out what's going to happen there. I don't know. We have to see what's going to happen. But a lot can determine about how far this team's progressed on how they react on their first road game. There's road games we've had in the past where last season things looked very different than last season. It didn't click.
Yeah, LAFC was decent though on long trips.
Yeah.
Toronto win, Montreal win. The only one that's a loss is to the Supporter Shield winners, Red Bulls, when they were in that game. Is
it safe to say with some of these road games where they're successful and they were good was earlier in part of the season? The Toronto game was huge because it happened a little bit later.
That was the signature win of the season.
Yes, and you want to look at these games where how LAFC was able to, can they play the way on a regular basis they started the season ago on the road? Yeah,
and I think you pointed it out too, the great start, and I'll give you a little stat from my colleague, Diego Garcia. That's an inside joke. He'll love that I called him my colleague. LAFC
Colorado Garcia
is one of 2 expansion teams to start their first 2 years with 2 consecutive wins. The other one is?
The expansion teams start with 2 consecutive wins for the Fire?
Yeah, of course. It's always
the Fire.
There's always a Bob connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chicago Fire. So the great start is big, and then you're right. Traveling, we want to see that these are tests. Everyone's a test. So Sporting comes in, you're gonna have to meet that test. That's an opening game. Everyone's gonna be amped. They meet that. The next test, you look at it and you say, how can they follow that up? Let's make sure they don't fall flat. They don't. So now, the next week, the new test is, can you travel across country and put together another solid performance against a very technically gifted side in a stadium that is very quirky and different? I like that I used quirky, and our coworker, Andrew Quirk,
Quirky,
we used to work for NYCFC. Another shout out.
I feel for having to
Can I just say people love that people from the office love when we shout them out, so I'm just going to keep trying to do as much as I can because I like.
Listen, if we can't have a loyal listening audience within these 4 walls, we're doing something wrong. So everyone, I would like to, Rosen, our other coworker.
Yeah.
There's a connection, but he's really pumped for baseball season. So I mean, he's probably waiting for Yankee Stadium to clear off some of that grass and put some dirt in there.
I have a list of everyone we work with, and I'd like to just start from the. No, I'm kidding.
It's not a huge list.
Actually, though,
it's a very efficient group here at LAFC that does all this great stuff.
It's true. We're lean and mean. In the segue, but to stay with the shout-outs, I do want to say this. A little shout-out to the LAFC Pod Fam. Hashtag LAFC Pod Fam. We're talking about going on the road. Shoulder to Shoulder did a little joint podcast with Blue City Radio. Check that out.
I love the collabs.
I like the preview together. FCFC recently had a sit down with Sticks. It's phenomenal. If you want to learn just hip hop culture, hip hop history, it's one of the best podcasts I've listened to in a long time. And I will self-admit I'm not huge on hip hop, but I do love that Sticks is a local guy from Watts, so I want to know more about those things. So I'm glad.
Sticks did send a little tweet out about not being on this pod.
Oh, he's going to be on sooner or later. Yeah. No, right. But he's got. Well, he's on FCFC. He was on Shoulder to Shoulder recently.
We got to let it.
Shout out to the defenders of the bank. Had a great breakdown of the Portland match. And one more new one, a newer one. Dale Black and Gold has started their Monday night Periscope on Twitter, Spanish language.
This is amazing.
And we need more.
What's at your fingertips?
Yes, we need more Spanish language podcasts, more Spanish language content in general. So if you are of that persuasion and you want to check out a live show Monday nights, they do that. So I would definitely check them out.
Yep, hace un llamadita.
And I believe that Heart of LAFC is going to be recording probably today, same day we're recording. So shout out to you guys. We'll be listening when it comes out.
That's great that you did that, Vince.
Yeah.
That was good. And it wasn't just like shouting out. It was very detailed. And now I think our listeners would probably want to listen to some of those podcasts as well because you have great options. They're great people. They're always at the stadium. If you want to say hello, they'll come up and say hello too. Mm-hmm. I love being at the stadium experience because everyone's so close by and we get to enjoy that with some regularity. And it sort of raises our stakes too because people are used to some excellence around here and we've got to match that. And we just sit here and mention our coworkers' names and figure that's enough. It's not.
Yeah, we just read off a roll call. I guess that would be good enough. It's not. But okay, so please do check those out. Like you said, I listen to them, so I'm not just casually throwing it out there. They were very good podcasts and will continue to be great podcasts. And we'll
subscribe to all of them.
Subscribe to all of them.
And then listen to some here and there when you have some time.
There's a lot of time in the week, and you want to talk LAFC all week. So
well, we're getting that as a club. I mean, this is a club that I see 20 years from now, like we're.
Yep.
The heck with it, I'll say it. Manchester United have their own TV channel. People consume. It's not far-fetched to say that there's a club here in the United States, and it's not a singular club here in the United States. They could reach that point where there's a global audience for them, and you cannot produce enough content, and the amount of content we create since 10 years ago to now, and that's going to grow astronomically. Yeah. People want it. They want to be informed.
And it's unique, different angles. So look, when one podcast ends, there's always another to go to.
Okay.
Good.
Put
a nice bow on that.
Nice bow on it. Anything to add about New York City FC? I know we want to. I saw the game last week, the highlights mostly, and it just was. I mean, that was a place that was hopping, and it was cold in New York, and I understand. I just moved from Connecticut, I know, and I don't want to sit out there in a live sporting event or live event period sometimes in the cold. But it just didn't really have it. And the field was chewed up a bit. And
yeah,
I feel for. I mean, I know that the big plan, and sometimes we don't say it about, is to get that to another facility, and it will happen one day. But it just feels like we need to hear something about it at some point.
Yeah, I mean, here I almost cannot watch.
I've called a couple games there. It's very challenging.
Broadcast at Yankees, it's almost unwatchable. And here's another plug.
It's a great team, great organization. They get it right, and they're always in the playoffs. They do. Yeah. It's just. I wish they could have the proper.
But if you're like me and you have a very difficult time watching broadcasts of those matches at Yankee Stadium, why not go to the fields, watch the game where the official watch party would be? I'm doing this off the top of my head. This is not a read. We are going to have an official watch party at Fields. There will be a match day-like atmosphere. So at the very least, if your eyes are hurting from those horrible camera angles, you'll have some fans to hang out and banter with, and at least some people to share the experience with. So I would go out to the fields for that watch party. And free play.
It's great. I'm thinking about doing a cabaret show at Free Play on a Wednesday night. Do you play piano by chance?
I don't even know how to. I don't know how to address you right now. I'm stunned.
No, but I'm laughing.
I want to say I'm surprised, but I'm not.
All these references and mentions, because like when we get off this podcast, she's gonna get an email from like Tom and Rich going, "Hey, that was really nice that you dropped that. Everyone's happy." I'll get an email, "Hey, Bretthouse, what's going on, dude?"
I hope I will. I hope that's how they see it. Hopefully, it's not.
This is a great outlet.
You need to do a better job of it. And I'm new to this.
All right. So New York City FC. A team, I think, the way LAFC is playing, if they can go, they should get a result of some kind.
Yeah.
If you get, I think a tie. I mean, we just going with that train of thought. You're on the road for sure. Hey, that'd be good. But why not a win? I think it's certainly within.
Well, you touched on it. They're still searching for that striker. They don't have a true number 9. I do think they've really sorted out their defense. They're pretty stout, so we're gonna have to break them down. But I don't generally worry about LAFC breaking down teams, and I think on a smaller field, it actually maybe benefits LAFC. I mean, they're used to playing in tight spaces, and then if there is transition moments, there's a lot less ground to cover.
Yeah.
So I like their chances out there to get a result. And like we said, they do pretty well traveling, so hopefully we can keep it rolling and keep adding points.
Yeah, and then it's back at home after that against Real Salt Lake. So it's always when you see the schedule, like, oh, great, good to start at home. But then there's pressure. You know, you got 3 home games, and that pressure can be alleviated a bit if you do something on the road. And again, you get a nice core of points like LAFC did last season, the first month, which they did in those 2 opening wins. You're gonna be in those positions you want to be in for probably through the summer, unless something bottom falls out. You could even drop a few points, but you will still be in those positions. The beginning of the season is huge,
right?
And you can see because so many teams are laboring around, dropping points, getting ties when they didn't get a win. If you come out and go win, how many teams have 2 wins out of the bat? It's like 3 or 4?
Yeah, only.
10. It's points are the same either part of the year.
I mean, nobody in the East is a perfect 6-6.
You got Seattle. Minnesota?
And Minnesota. I think those are just the 3. Yeah. I mean, and to wrap that up about, booing yourself in the beginning of the season to maybe take care of whether you go through the doldrums in the middle or anything like that. Also, important thing to know is after this match, Marc Anthony Kaye will be joining Canada. Christian Ramirez is going to the national team. There might be some more call-ups coming down, so they will not be available for their RSL game. So again, important players in this team get the points when they're in the lineup. I do think that there's enough depth to play very well against RSL, but these are always factors.
Well, we'll talk about that more next week, but this is when we looked at this because of the new schedule, and LAFC has a big break in the summertime. They'll be able to absorb a lot of these call-ups. So this is a rare opportunity for the guys who want to be considered an option to really excel. So I think that makes that Real Salt Lake game really compelling, because whoever comes in for Marc Anthony, whoever you imagine Dio is going to come in there and get a full 90. Dio, we've mentioned that parking spot, 2 goals in 58 minutes.
Yeah, fantastic.
He deserves the park. Did I say that already?
He
deserves that spot. Thank you, team security, Paul.
What do we say? His per 90 since joining the league is just a shade under a goal.
Unbelievable.
A goal a game. That's fantastic.
So we'll see. I mean, maybe, I don't want to project. A lot can happen between then. We're going to now talk Champions League.
Yes.
We have a good thing going. I might get the second half. We're taping this on a Wednesday, so we'll watch the Bayern Liverpool game and the Barcelona-Lyon game, although I got that home team wrong. It is Barcelona-Lyon, pardon me. And we'll talk about it. I was interested to see that Pep Guardiola says he wanted Bayern to win because his heart's with Bayern. And I'm like, wait a minute, time out. Didn't you get knocked out by Liverpool? And he also added,
it's a little bit of both.
He also added, he goes, hey, we already have 3. Bayern. I know, he already added, we already have 3 Premier League teams. Premier League team is going to win it this year. I'm going to tell you, I think Premier League team has shown that it's the best league in the world this year. At least the top of it is. The Spanish league really dropped it. Both Madrid teams are headed home. German league, Schalke got just demolished. Dortmund was trounced. I know you're not supposed to, but I look at this. I know that there is a way to look at the way a league plays, and that will manifest itself in the Champions League. So I think that's great for the English teams. And to get to that point, Man City, Juventus, who both got through, I think those are the best 2 teams in the competition remaining. Hopefully they don't meet to the final. I think that would be, everyone says Barcelona this. I go, Man City, Juventus final. That's what you want.
That would be fantastic. I would take that final, even though I'd be terrified. But I would take it. If you told me right now, this is what's going to happen, I won't tell you the score, but this is what's going to happen, I'll take it.
That's your teams. All right, so Juventus get through, and we were worried because I said they were my pick to win it. They made me my pick again. I moved to Man City, but I might go back to Juventus. I'm just going to leave them as a pair. But they reversed it, and Cristiano Ronaldo, it was amazing to see that because the width and breadth of the reaction of this is the greatest Champions League player, and a lot of people feeling like this might, if he didn't have this performance, is the Ronaldo, I mean, and they're out of this competition, do we even, do we start throwing dust on what he has been able to do? Is it time to let the next guy come in? And then he just sticks his head out of the dirt and says,
he and the team had been underwhelming up to this point. They had a really good match against United, then had another match that they
in the Champions League.
In the Champions League,
okay,
yes. I mean, look, Serie A is done and dusted. It's over.
But I mean, they had one bad game
against
Atletico, and then you said this could derail the whole tournament. But that's the way it is.
No, they had to come out. They had to come out firing right? This is those moments that you hope for. You never want to be down. You never want to put yourself in that moment. But that's why you get a player like that. It raises the whole rest of the team. But both of us were very, very high on Bernardeschi, who we thought was also. I mean, Ronaldo scores a hat trick. He's man of the match. But if you want to go back to a little callback, our low-key hipster man of the match, Bernardeschi.
He was the man of the. No, I don't think he was the best player for me. Federico Bernardeschi assisted. It was the first goal.
Yes.
And then won the penalty. Don't start. Juventus were going to win this.
Stone cold penalty.
Stone cold. I don't think it was stone cold penalty. There was, but I like the art of a dive. If it looks good, I mean.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see some dives. El Hadji Diouf, remember him? Senegalese player. He would trip. He would get his left leg and trip his right leg, and it would look so brutal. But it was his own leg, and he'd go down. And even after you saw it, he hit himself. You'd say that's a penalty.
Yeah.
Because even though he saw it was his leg bringing himself down.
Well, it's an art. That move, Bernardeschi to cut in. I mean, we got
good everywhere.
We are privileged that we got to watch it at work. I was a bundle of nerves, so I wasn't. You know what's nice is I kind of like that there's not other Juventus fans, so I can kind of watch it because I like to watch games more in silence. And Max was very kind and just kind of sat with me. Diego was needling me a little bit because he just wanted to see me lose and see me suffer, which is par for the course.
No, they had that. I felt once they had the first goal, I was like,
you always, it felt inevitable. I mean, when they pulled back the first one after the 5 minutes and they said, no, that's not a goal, I was like, oh, I can't believe this is actually going to happen. But yeah, the momentum, it felt inevitable. Atletico says, hey, we can defend. You want to do crosses all day?
You pointed out there goes just cross, cross.
And I'm not normally a fan, but obviously if you have Ronaldo, you have Mandzukic, who are probably the two best headers of the ball. But what's funny is, and I was telling somebody earlier, I go, but Atletico had to probably look at that and say, okay, we'll meet you there. Like the two teams kind of rolled out what they think they do best. At the end of the day, it takes the best Champions League player in the history of the sport to just make a moment, and that's where you make the shining moment. That's where you make that name, is by bringing a team back. You don't do it by putting in 5 against or 7 against Schalke. You have to make those comebacks.
That was impressive too. Look, Juventus might win this whole thing. Again, they're one of my top line picks, but he'll probably get all the credit because what he did. But I know from this point to that team is amazing. And it's just Bernardeschi, but it's what they're able to do defensively. There's guys who aren't even playing now, like Douglas Costa, who could come in there.
Paulo Dybala. Max was very terrified.
I love Dybala, but when him and Ronaldo are on the field together, it just doesn't work. Bene.
But I'll say this: Dybala was very smart in the things that he did. He didn't figure really into any of the goals. I would say his best work was after they got their third. He was smart to kill off the game. He made smart runs. Went into the corner. You always have that guy, and you're like, go to the corner, just go to the corner.
He did it.
He went to the corner.
That was good bench play. He didn't really shine, but I would stick to Miralem Pjanic being the best at what he does at his position, and that would.
He stuck to the game model. The game model was to get the ball wide, get crosses in. So he was that focal. They used that pivot. Yeah. Just stick to the game model. Don't try to do more.
He's a great support player, and he gets it. So, who's your best team you think left of all the teams you've seen? We've seen a lot of the games.
Yeah, it's hard. I think I said this before this match that I think whoever wins from Atletico and Juventus, I think one of those two are in the final. And I'm kind of with you. City looks really good. Although if Liverpool gets by Bayern, they're a team that has the type of players that could really.
Well, I'm not going to give predictions now because it doesn't really matter because it's going to happen. It did.
You know what's interesting though is so if Liverpool gets by Bayern and let's say Lyon gets by Barcelona, which very well could happen.
I think again, Barcelona's
all
in trouble.
4 English teams would be in the quarterfinals. 0 German teams, 0 Spanish teams. I can't.
Right.
If somebody if Elias could get on that, when was the last time that happened?
Barcelona's been beating up people along the way in Spain, and it's been impressive. But that league is not having a good year. It's been the best league in the world recently, maybe even last year or the year before. It's not having a great year.
And I'll say this: if you're a Barcelona fan, and
it's a transition year.
We're recording before, so I don't know if this is going to come true. But if you're a Barcelona fan and you have Messi. The best thing that could have happened was Ronaldo scoring a hat trick because I'm guaranteeing Lionel Messi woke up this morning saying, all right, we'll see what you've got. Here's what I have. So it would not surprise me if he scores 4.
That must be nice to wake up and say, oh, I got to score 4, and I will.
Yeah, and I will.
Okay. All right. That's it. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. Make sure you subscribe to all the LAFC podcasts. Put them there and listen to them when you want to. I would appreciate comments as well, wherever this podcast is available. And I just want to say I really enjoy working here.
And we'll start reading out the names now. No, but one last thing. As part of the Inside LAFC podcast and the umbrella that we have here, look out for the first Locker Room podcast with Walker Zimmerman coming very soon.
We talked about it
if you already subscribe to this, you'll get those podcasts as well. It's the beauty of it all. It's the beauty of the synergy, and I think that is a good last word to wrap on.
And so it shall be.